Good afternoon. Now it's 12 o'clock and welcome to our April webinar. My name is Lakin Coleman. I am with the New Growth Women's Business Center, and we are excited to introduce our April webinar and our guests. We have teamed up with the World Trade Center and the Missouri SBDC International Trade, as well as our local SBDC representative, Kelly Asbury, whom I like to call the Master of Business Planning. During today's webinar, expect to learn more on exporting. And first up, we're going to have Kimberly Beatell and Susan Spitz with the World Trade Center. And then we have Leslie with Missouri SBDC International Trade Director, and she's covering programs and takes on the road to exporting. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kimberly.
Oh, thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Susan, do you want to share your screen and start?
Yeah, I will do that. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lakin, and welcome everybody. We are very excited to be here today, and I think there are a number of you who are new to the World Trade Center, so it's exciting to tell you about the resources that we can offer.
Shoot, did she just freeze?
If you are a business never thought about selling national. I froze.
You froze. You froze. Can you go back to the beginning?
Thank you for letting me know, though, because I want to make sure people hear this. But yeah, I'm getting a message. Internet is unstable, unfortunately. I was just saying that we have a tremendous amount of resources, and that yes, international sales can be more complex than selling in the US, and it's important to know what you're doing, but there are just a lot of benefits and a lot of support, and many small businesses do it every day. So we're going to talk today about the resources that we can make available, and through ourselves directly, and also through our partners. So you can see that our name TIPS here is actually an acronym for the three primary ways that we work at the World Trade Center. It's trade, investment, and people. And trying to get my screen to advance. Let's see. There we go. So who we are, World Trade Center St. Louis, we actually are part of the World Trade Center Association internationally. You've probably heard of the World Trade Center in New York, which is the headquarters. But there are 300 World Trade Centers approximately around the world in 90 countries. There are about 80 within the US. And they all operate independently. They have different business models. Some of them are just leasing out space to other international businesses. But we actually have an economic development model. So you see our mission there. We're about enhancing international trade, promoting local economic development, fostering peace and stability through trade. Our ultimate aim is to grow the regional economy through international trade. So here in the St. Louis World Trade Center, we are actually an international, you can think of us as the international arm of the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. The St. Louis Development Partnership works within the city of St. Louis and the county of St. Louis, but the World Trade Center St. Louis works in the entire state of Missouri. So we can help you all who are on the webinar today. The only place we don't work is actually in Kansas City. And that is because there is a World Trade Center in Kansas City that has a similar model. So you can also, if you're closer to the Kansas City area and you want to reach out to them, go for it. They're a great organization. We do have a membership, but it's important to note that you don't have to become a member to receive services from the World Trade Center, because we are quasi-governmental. So we provide services to everyone. Members do have some additional benefits, as you can imagine. And most members join because they want to be part of our affiliated network, and they want to support the work that we do. And one of the things that members get would be access to the different World Trade Centers around the world too. We've helped a couple of companies to relocate their importing, for instance, from Asia over to Mexico. That's one of the ways we can help through the different World Trade Centers that are around. So let's get into that acronym: trade, investment, and people. On the trade side, that's what Kimberly and I are focused on. And a little bit of an explanation of what we mean when we say trade. We're really talking about importing and exporting. And people often get confused about, which direction, when is it called importing, when is it called exporting? If you think about it from your own locus, importing is when a locally based company buys products from a foreign country and has them brought into their home country. In our case, that's the United States, right? So we've got an example of one of the companies we've worked with is an Arch Grant winner called, the name of the company is Rebundle. They do hair braids for African hair that's made of all natural fiber. And they import banana fiber from Africa into the US to make their hair braids. On the exporting side, maybe you're a local company and you want to sell into Canada. We just got off a call with somebody who wants to do that. They would be exporting into Canada. On the other hand, if you were a Mexican company and you were selling into the US, the Mexican company would say, I'm exporting to the US. The US buyer would say, I'm importing. So you just think of it from your own point of view. Okay, so what do we do on the trade side? At World Trade Center, a big part of what we do is training and education. And here are three opportunities for some of the educational programs that we provide. One is Engage in Trade. That is a monthly webinar series. It used to be an in-person member-only luncheon, and now it's online and available to everybody. We do a whole variety of topics there, everything from a panel for International Women's Day, a panel of women business owners, to something really more technical like what's the USMCA trade agreement, or how do you get the CE mark for selling into Europe. So that's a monthly webinar, ranges on a whole bunch of topics, and we can tell you how to get onto our mailing list to get invitations for those at the end of the presentation. Second one here is the Chancellor's Certificate in International Trade. That is a great program to get started on learning more about international trade. Although I have to say the SBDC's presentation, which is going to happen after I'm finished, they would provide even more baby steps, I think, in terms of getting, if you're really starting from scratch. But the Chancellor's Certificate in International Trade is a great overview of international trade, and it's an online program that's on the online platform of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Third, we've got Export Tech, and that is for companies that have more experience exporting and they just really want to get strategic about it. It's really kind of like an accelerator program for your international business. We also, on the trade side, do trade delegations, and another bit of a definition there. Trade delegations, trade missions, very similar, essentially the same meaning. And I would say just think of that as a group business trip to a foreign country. I think a lot of people hear trade mission or trade delegation, they think it's really probably a vacation that you can just write off. I can tell you that we take one outbound trade mission a year typically, and they are packed full of productive meetings. There are some, of course, time to see the sites, but for an example, in 2019, we took a delegation to Mexico in conjunction with our partners at the state of Missouri and also the Hispanic Chamber. And there was a company that went on that trade mission that has literally doubled their sales as a result of meetings that they had, which turned into sales and then some more word of mouth sales. And they've moved into a new building. They were already on track to move into another building, but they've gotten, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million in sales in just a couple of years. And that was through a trade mission. We also do trade counseling. And that's really one-on-one meeting with companies to find out what their pain points are, what their needs are, what are their strategies that they want to put into place. And we can help either directly or providing referrals to the best partner to help them with whatever that need might be. So that's on the trade side. And then I also said, we do trade, investment, and people. This is a little less relevant for our audience today, but I wanted to explain a little bit about the investment side. It's another way that we can grow the region from an economic standpoint. And that is through supporting foreign companies that have a presence in the St. Louis region or in the Missouri region. The World Trade Center really works with the existing foreign investment that's here. So any foreign-owned companies that are in the region already, we want to make sure they're happy. We want to make sure they have the resources that they need to grow. And there's a whole ecosystem of different agencies that work to attract these businesses as well. So like a foreign company might have their US headquarters here, or they might have a subsidiary here in the region. And we just want to make sure that they are continuing to invest in the region, because it's another way that we all grow from an economic standpoint. So a couple of the vehicles that we have within our toolbox is something called a foreign trade zone. That's actually good for a foreign company or a local US based company. A foreign trade zone is a good way to delay paying the import duties or tariffs on items that you're importing if you bring in a large amount at once, because it really only makes sense if you're going to be doing a whole tremendous amount. But it's a great way to delay or even not have to pay import duties or taxes if they're going to turn around and get re-exported. So that's one of the things World Trade Center works on. We facilitate and administer several of the foreign trade zones in the region. Also EB5, also probably not relevant here, but it's a type of investment vehicle for foreign individuals who invest in the United States and create jobs. World Trade Center has administered some EB5 projects. And then finally, we mentioned delegations, trade delegations. The World Trade Center St. Louis typically handles about 20 inbound delegations every year from various countries around the world. We actually report up to the mayor of St. Louis and the St. Louis County executive. So if anybody contacts them and says, hey, we want to bring in a delegation from Korea or Poland or wherever it is, they'll contact us. We will set up the itinerary and make sure that they see what they need to see. A story that I love from one of these inbound delegations was down on the riverfront here in St. Louis. There's a company that makes all of the prepared fruits and vegetables for like when you go into the grocery store and you buy a veggie dip tray or a yogurt parfait or something like that. You can imagine that there's a tremendous amount of food waste that comes out of making those products. And the company, that was a big cost for them to dispose of this food waste. And so we had an inbound trade delegation here from Europe, and one of the companies did something with insects. I don't really know exactly what they were doing, but the bottom line was these food scraps made perfect food for their insects. So it was an input that they needed, and they were so excited to hear that there was a company that had that. So it was literally a case of one company's trash being another company's treasure. So those are the kinds of examples of things that can happen on a trade delegation that often you wouldn't have happen if you did something virtually. So then finally, on the people side, none of this would really work, right, if there weren't people that were doing it behind it. And the World Trade Center gets involved on the people side in two ways. One is through sister cities. So you've probably heard of the Sister Cities International. It's a separate organization from World Trade Center, and the sister cities are all primarily staffed with volunteers that have a particular connection with those cities. And the World Trade Center is the administrator for those organizations. They kind of hold the bag administratively. So that's one of the things that we do. And then we also have an organization underneath the World Trade Center called the St. Louis Mosaic Project. Now, the Mosaic Project does focus just on the St. Louis region, but their mission is to attract and support the foreign-born population in the region. And there was a study done back in 2013 or 2014 that showed that St. Louis had a smaller percentage of their population that was foreign-born compared to comparable cities. And there are all kinds of economic benefits to having a large foreign-born population. Now we're talking, it was 3 to 5%, something like that, of our population. Comparable cities have about 11 to 12% of the population being foreign-born. Foreign-born people will, for instance, be more likely to start a home business. And there's a lot of the foreign companies that hire locally often have higher paying jobs. So there's a lot of economic benefit to it, just not to mention the diversity and the great food options that will come up from having foreign-born neighbors. So that's the St. Louis Mosaic Project, and that's really what we do on the people side of things. I mentioned earlier that we have a lot of partners, and you'll see one of our good partners is the St. Louis, or America's SBDC, Small Business Development Center. They're our co-presenter today. And also you'll see up there, this is just a sampling of some of our partners, but the state of Missouri there has 15 offices around the world that are there just to help Missouri companies to grow their exports. So that's one of our great partners. And I'm not going to go into all of these details because we want to get some examples that'll help you put yourself in this position and think about how you might be able to export. So I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly, and she's going to talk through the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Susan. And welcome again, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Susan talked about who we are, what we do, and how we do it. So now you've got the background, and what I'd like to do is tell you how we can help you. So to start out, a little bit of an overview, 95% of the world's consumers are located outside of the United States. So we know how much opportunity there is here at home, and then basically multiply that by 20, and you're looking at the opportunity that exists if you decide to go international. Regional exports account for $10.9 billion in state revenue. So that's revenue for companies that are exporting, in addition to revenue for the state and federal governments. We have in the region over 2,700 companies that export, and at least from my perspective, particularly exciting about that is that 84% of those businesses are classified as small to mid-sized enterprises. So if you're like me, you thought, sure, there's $11 billion in annual revenue, but it's going to be the really big companies. It's going to be a Boeing and a Monsanto or Bayer. It's going to be these, it's going to be these huge companies, when in fact it is the small to mid-sized enterprises where the opportunity truly exists. So then what Susan and I did is, oh, sorry, let me just back that up and mention that 94,000 regional jobs are supported. So that $11 billion turns into 94,000 regional jobs. So then what we did is, in order to kind of explain how we can help you and really bring this home, we created 3 examples. And the examples represent actual businesses that we work with. We've clearly changed the names to protect the innocent, but we wanted to kind of share with you what we were able to do in helping specific companies. So the first is someone who has a website. She's been selling therapeutic products on her website, and she receives an email from a doctor in Senegal who is interested in purchasing products. And so the kind of flashing red sign here is, don't delete those emails. When you get something that's international, don't delete it. Give us a call. Let us help you, because there's an opportunity here to grow the business, and you just got to take that first step. So here, the World Trade Center and partners can help you verify the validity of the inquiry. Is this really a doctor in Senegal? Once you close the deal and are ready to ship your products, we can help with product classification, documentation, the shipping documents that you would need to do, identifying options for shipping products. How are you going to get the products over to wherever they're going? And then finally, help minimize payment risk, because when it comes right down to it, you do want to make sure you're going to get paid. And what I will say here, and I'll note this on each one of them, you'll see it at the bottom of each example, is most services are free of charge. So please take advantage of them. The second example is the Global Expander. So this is a woman who owns she has a local beauty products company, and she wants to expand to global markets. So she's identified her desire to start shipping globally, start selling products, reaching those 95% of consumers that are outside the US. And the question she has is, where do I start? The World Trade Center and partners can help you research markets. So it's critical to understand what the best markets are for your product. Where does the opportunity really lie? Where are those consumers? Because you want to start in the best possible location. The second thing would be to identify partners. How am I going to sell there? Am I going to do a joint venture? Will I hire a distributor? Maybe I need an agent. Maybe I just need sales reps. So kind of working through those elements and then actually identifying who you would work with. That's what our partners can help with. Making connections. So once you've identified potential connections, who you would want to work with in, let's say, Canada for this example, then our partners can actually make introductions for you. So you've got that warm introduction and you're not doing a cold call. And then the final point is to help fund business expansion. So as you're growing, there are opportunities for funding. And I'll get into a little bit more in this third example, we call the business diversifier. So being particularly Missouri relevant, this is a mid-sized brewery who's dependent on a few large customers and so wants to diversify, wants the opportunity to not have all of the eggs in one basket. And here's where it's so important to remember that Canada and Mexico are international too. So often we hear the word exporting or international, and it feels like this very foreign, far away thing that you have to fly a long way to get to, when in fact we have neighbors who are ready, willing, and able to do business with us. And those are wonderful places to start. Here, the World Trade Center and partners can help by offering export education and counseling, which is what Susan referenced at the very beginning. We go into great detail. Our objective is to meet you where you are and answer the questions you need answered when you need them answered. The other thing we can help with is accessing grants for export activities. There are both state and federal funds available to help you with making your website global, identifying opportunities to go to trade shows and exhibit at trade shows and fund those, creating marketing materials in a different language. There are funds to help with all of those things. And then really any sort of technical assistance that you need. Susan and I work hard to, as I said, meet you where you are and help you along the way. So wherever you are in the journey of exporting, that's where we'd like to help. And again, I'll just point out that most services are free of charge.
So we have covered a lot of things today, and this is just sort of a summary of some of the things that we can help with. And the key is just, if you've got an international question, reach out. Now, I know you've got also resources here with New Growth and with the SBDC, and they will probably know when it's time to reach out to us as well. So these are just some of the ways that we can help, and we're glad to have the opportunity to help identify solutions and make introductions. And then if you do want to get onto our email list, you can go to this website here, worldtradecenter-stl.com, scroll down to the right side of the first page, and there's a place to add your email address. And then I'm going to turn things over to Leslie Fisher with the SBDC. Thank you.
You're muted, Leslie.
Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. Sorry, I've been having some trouble, so I called in on my phone and wasn't sure if you were able to hear me. Okay, but anyway, Kimberly and Susan, thank you so much. I'd like to reiterate my welcome to Export Steps and Resources. And again, thank our partners at New Growth Women's Business Center, the Missouri Small Business Development Centers, and St. Louis World Trade Center. My name is Leslie Fisher, and I direct our international trade services available through the SBDC. To carry out this work, I work very closely with our SBDC business consultants across the state, and I am so lucky to have Kelly Asbury, Director at State Fair Community College, to spearhead our business engagement services in Central Missouri. Among Kelly's many accolades of specific interest to our audience today is that Kelly is a certified global business professional, has been named a State Star for her outstanding service to Missouri business owners, and was recently honored as the most innovative small business development center in the state. So needless to say, although I am delivering the bulk of our presentation today, Kelly's expertise, connections, and tireless work for Missouri small businesses have made her a critical component to the success of the business community and to the SBDC International Trade Team. As a quick housekeeping note, the Missouri SBDC is part of a nationwide network of small business development centers created and funded in part through the U.S. Small Business Administration. We've been a trusted resource partner with the SBA for almost half a century, and our mission is to help businesses grow and be more successful through our consulting services. We're audited and federally regulated to ensure our clients receive excellence in service. So we're here today to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is international trade opportunities, how to take advantage of them, and the tools and resources in place to assist you along the way. In this webinar, we will introduce you to key trade events to consider, the perks of participation, and the tools and resources that are available to prepare you to take advantage of them as you embark on your road to trade. We will be covering what trade facilitation activities are and examples of each, the benefits of trade activities, and how to get started. Sorry, some of my transitions are a little lagging here. But diving into popular trade activities, perhaps the easiest of trade promotion activities to consider is sample representation. Sample representation is when a trade facilitation organization, like a state or federal trade promotion group, will purchase a booth at a trade show representing a specific industry and promote your company's products and services on your behalf, saving you the hassle of sending someone from your company to physically attend. The trade facilitator will have a basic overview of your company and your products or services and will collect contact information of the interested buyer, which is known as a trade lead, and can help to connect you to the buyer after the show. This is often one of the most cost-effective ways to get your feet wet with international trade activities, as the main fee for participation will be the cost of sending your samples and marketing material to the convention center before the show. Although some organizations will charge a fee for arranging the services, it's usually nominal if they charge at all. Most recently, a Missouri SBDC international trade client from rural Missouri working within the food and beverage industry was able to have their food product featured in 4 trade shows in Taiwan and has received a number of trade leads as a result. Earlier, we were talking about how Missouri has 15 trade offices around the world, and this Taiwan trade office is one of those. So in the picture here on the left, our Taiwan trade director is gathering specific information from a prospective buyer, again known as a trade lead, and then the Taiwan trade director sends that follow-up information back to the domestic team, which in this case is the Missouri Department of Agriculture, as they were the state agency leading the activity, and the Missouri SBDC. So the lead agency then sends that trade lead information to the client. And after the client has received the trade leads from the show, the Missouri SBDC comes back and supports the company to see that lead through to sale. So this can include anything from support by providing resources to determine landed cost, freight forwarding connections for logistical support, documentation needed to see the sale through, and general export business planning support. The second picture here illustrates what booth displays look like, featuring a wide array of companies within an industry. And so sample representation is just one of the most stress-free ways to participate in international trade activity because it requires so little work beyond sending product and can be a good way to test market interest. As a result of the physical limitations imposed by COVID-19, virtual adaptations of traditional trade activities have created new opportunities to engage in international trade promotion from the comfort of your home, office, or local coffee shop. A virtual trade show is an online trade promotion event that brings buyers and sellers together through technology hosted online for a limited period of time. It can be considered just basically the online equivalent of a traditional trade show or exhibition, but exhibitors and visitors connect with one another on the web rather than in person. Virtual trade shows can be accessed anywhere as they are not limited by their geographic location. So really all you need to attend is a device with good connections to the internet. Virtual trade shows facilitate direct interactions between exhibitors and attendees with interactive features like live chats or industry chat rooms, one-on-one or group video calls, Q&A, live webinars, or on-demand webcasts showcasing product demonstrations, promotional tactics like lucky draws, and embedded website and social media exposure. As an added benefit, virtual trade shows enable you to reach audiences from around the world, enjoy easy setup without the hassle of physical product display. It allows you to be environmentally conscious without producing emissions associated with international air travel, and of course, network safely. So for rural exporters thinking of participating in a virtual trade show, you'll want to ensure you have a strong internet connection and are taking into account differences in time zones. So while not quite as convenient as meeting international buyers from your home office, domestic buyers missions are another relatively low hassle way to connect with international buyers interested in exploring foreign business opportunities. Also known as reverse trade missions, these events are in place to again bring visiting foreign buyers to domestic sellers with the express purpose of facilitated trade activity, however, this time on domestic soil. Buyers missions are another option brought to you by trade organizers like the World Trade Center St. Louis or our state and federal trade groups. And really, they allow you to meet prospective international clients from your home country. Buyers missions provide companies the opportunity to sit down one-on-one with buyers to discuss your company, products, specs, logistical needs in greater detail. As a host, you're not only able to demonstrate and speak to your product in person, but you're also able to showcase your facilities, highlight your workforce and technology, and illustrate your commitment to the relationship through your hospitality. Currently, the SBDC is working to prepare 2 clients to attend the National Restaurant Association show, which is in Chicago, Illinois, coming up in May. At the show, the companies will have vast exposure to many different prospective buyers that pass the booth, but will also benefit by participating in domestic buyers mission, or in the buyers mission portion, where they're having pre-arranged one-on-one meetings with international buyers who have already expressed interest in their product by participating in the mission. The Missouri SBDC is helping to prepare the participating clients, in this case, food and beverage suppliers, to make the most of the opportunity by providing suppliers research on the markets the buyers are interested in, resources to develop landed cost, again, connecting with freight forwarders, and assistance with marketing material preparation. Because foreign participants must apply to attend these missions, spend the time to travel to the US and incur costs to participate, they're usually really interested in sourcing product and are often eager to purchase. So when possible, suppliers are encouraged to make the most of the opportunity by, again, kind of doing those facilities tours or hosting prospective buyers for a meal or networking reception to kind of garner more time and attention of the visiting delegation. And as you might surmise from the name, international trade shows are one of the best ways to engage in international trade. At a trade show, also known as a trade fair or exposition, companies promote their products and services to foreign buyers. Most trade shows, again, focus on a particular industry, such as aviation, IT, food and beverage, or biomedical technology, for example. They're held in large conference and convention centers in which members of a specific industry, demonstrate, display, and talk about what they aim to sell with visitors. Not only are you able to meet with prospective buyers face-to-face, but you can take advantage of the show's foreign location to gain valuable market insight, interview foreign distributors and agents in person, reach new audiences, get firsthand experience with the host culture that may impact and inform your international strategy. Learn who your competitors are in the global marketplace and connect with aligned companies and products within your own industry, which can be pretty helpful when developing your distribution strategy abroad. Most international trade shows are 5 to 7 days in length and usually require setup prior to the show and tear down once it is over. And as a final note, on international trade shows, you don't necessarily have to have a passport to attend one. The US hosts a wealth of trade shows, most of which attract foreign buyers and can grant you international exposure without leaving the US borders. The most comprehensive of all trade promotion activities that we touched on a little bit earlier, trade missions are typically organized.
It looks like she cut out and she comes back pretty quick. I do have some information that I wanted to share with you all, so I'm going to go ahead and get that pulled up while we wait for her return.
I'll just jump in and say that we did have a question. I don't know if you saw it. It was from Lisa Zimmerman. With the issues around finding good staff, I'm concerned about growing too fast with exporting. Is it possible to ease into exporting? And Susan did answer that question and said there are definitely ways to ease into exporting. And I would add that's probably the way most people do it. Most companies, just going back to that example, get an email from someone that requires shipping to another country, and they figure out what they need to do to fill that order. And then as you begin doing more and more in a place, you start to put together a plan to kind of capture more of the business. So some businesses go at it very strategically and say, I want to do this, and then make a plan. And other businesses kind of are accidental experts. They kind of fall into it and are just looking for some help of how to get, and then how to continue. And this is Mac, and just in case anyone was curious. So
Oh, goodness.
he joins nearly every meeting. So
Welcome back, Leslie. I accidentally took your screen away. If you want to pull that back up, I'm sorry.
No problem. I apologize for my internet troubles here today.
You had just started talking about this slide, so you need to kind of
Okay.
restart this one.
Okay, perfect. Thanks everyone for your patience here. Talking about some of the most comprehensive of all trade promotion activities. Trade missions are typically organized by national or state governments or state regional trade groups and are tailored to meet your needs as a participant. Trade missions are made up of a series of market intelligence briefings, prearranged meetings with vetted prospective buyers, networking events, and cultural experiences. Typically 7 to 9 days in length, including travel. Trade missions are robust experiential business activities that can change the course of your sales trajectory and broaden your understanding of the complexities and beauties inherent in an interconnected global framework. In addition to enjoying a full schedule of quality buyer meetings, participation
poor Leslie.
I know I tried to stop her video. I thought that might help, but
Becky, you want to share your events screen?
yes, I'm pulling them up. Sorry. I hate to do that though, because then she'll probably come back on as soon as I get it.
No.
But Okay, real quick, I want to talk about some events that we have coming up here at the New Growth Women's Business Center. This is our partner for the E3 Women's Conference. We partner with SCORE, and it's going to be held September 13th and 14th in Springfield, Missouri, and you can register at the link here. You can also find this information on our website and on the E3 SCORE website. And we look forward to everyone being there. We also partner with the Kansas SBDC for the Encountering Innovation Conference, and that's going to be June 6th through the 9th. Again, the registration link is at the bottom of the page. You can find this information on our website. We just wanted to touch with our partners and some local events that we have coming up for people who are in our 15 counties that we cover. And Leslie is back on now, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
All right, thanks, guys. I apologize for the internet today. I don't know what's going on. But participating in trade activities mentioned today, sample representation, virtual trade shows, domestic buyers missions and international trade shows, global trade missions. These are all fantastic ways to kind of catalyze global exposure, extend your international reach, and enjoy the benefits of exporting. There are many benefits of engaging in export, and they include that, like we talked about earlier, how vast the global marketplace really is. 95% of the world lives outside of the US, representing a large untapped client base. Exporting enables you to expand upon domestic success, smooth uncertainties in business cycles, maximize your production capacity, increase your competitiveness, and grow your bottom line. I am just going to speed through a little bit because I'm making up for lost time. But I hope after seeing some of the vast array of trade activities available to you, you're excited and ready to embark on your own road to trade. Luckily for you, getting started is super easy and help is all around. By working with the teams at New Growth, World Trade Center St. Louis, and the International Trade Program at the SBDC, you'll be able to assess your export readiness, receive tailored export education and support, develop an export plan illustrating which key trade events
Well, at least she's gotten a good chunk of info out every time before the internet messes up again. You all are really great resources. So to the audience, I think you've got great support.
I'm going to take this time to thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate your partnership on this, and we really appreciate the information that you guys have shared. I know I've learned something. If anyone has questions, please, please, please drop them into the chat. We are going to have a question and an answer session at the end of this. We may have it sooner rather than later. It looks. Oh,
I'm back. Sorry, guys.
You're doing great. This is great information.
Well,
so
thanks. This is testing my patience. So let's see if I can get this to advance.
Did Leslie freeze again? Kelly, you want to take a minute to introduce yourself and share a little bit?
it looks like Lisa put you on the spot.
Leslie did an amazing job as far as an introduction. Aside from what she's explaining on the international trade side of things, we offer a variety of services. Essentially, anything from I've got this idea to maybe I want to expand, or I've been in this business for 30 years. How do I get out? And anything in between. So anything that we can assist with, you just reach out, and maybe it's not us, but we've certainly got connections that we can connect people with as well. So
Yeah, I think we're all here to support, and we're not, competing against one another. We all want you to succeed. And so there's really no wrong door, right?
Absolutely. I feel so bad for her right now.
No. Poor Leslie. Any questions from anyone? Oh. Lakin, do you want to,
Yeah, we'll open up question and answers
or do you
now.
want to pop up her presentation and run the slides?
I can go ahead and get it pulled up. That way when she gets back, at least it'll stay up.
Okay.
Those darn internet bugs, gremlins, whatever they are.
I can't wait until they have good internet throughout the whole country.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge.
As someone who always lives outside of city limits, I
Yeah.
appreciate good internet.
Yep, for sure.
All right, I just sent, oh, there she is.
But I think she froze again, so.
Sorry guys, I'm trying to pull up her slideshow here.
Maybe Matt can entertain us while we're waiting.
If only he would look at this, he never looks at the camera. He's always
Right.
looking at everything.
One time I saw him look at the camera. I was like, oh, hi there.
I would like everyone to know that this recording will be available on our website, as well as I will share it with the presenters to share as they wish. The slides will also be available. And if we don't get Leslie back, we can get some contact information on her up and we will share that with you all. So that way, if you have any questions, you can reach out directly to her.
All right, there we go.
All right, I have joined from my phone.
What slide were you on, Leslie?
And
You muted yourself, Leslie.
so I have joined from my phone. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm on the expert e-curricula slide. But anyway, this is basically just our online curriculum on exporting. There's a bunch of different tutorials that cover everything from export marketing to developing a compliance program. And clients have access to 20 of these tutorials at no cost. And it's just kind of a good place to, a good library of resources to kind of help get up to speed on different international aspects that you may need to brush up on. And then, so after we've assessed your company's export readiness, you'll want to research potential markets for the product you're trying to export. The SBDC maintains a paid subscription to Euromonitor Passport, which is a market research tool that offers access to millions of statistical data and detailed reports on 27 industries, covering 210 countries. So with data at your fingertips and action items to consider, you'll likely want to have a place to deliberate on your findings. Growth Wheel export worksheets are downloadable worksheets auto-populated with common export planning considerations. And they prompt you to consider different elements of the export business planning process that you may not have thought about. The SBDC International Trade Team has these on hand for you to peruse and work through on any areas of the internationalization process that you'd like to learn about more in depth. Topics cover export readiness, identifying your export motivations, product adaptations, global market focus areas, market criteria, partner selection, export law, export documentation, customer acquisition costs, international logistics, and more. So once you're ready to get into the details of your company's export venture, documentation will be key to your success. And the Missouri SBDC has samples of all the necessary export documentation on hand for you to learn from. And as you're learning and growing your export expertise, you can document your findings and create an export plan. Companies seeking the full extent of export assistance will complete an export plan and be ready to take advantage of the export and trade opportunities we talked about earlier. By working with the SBDC International Trade Specialized Service, you'll be able to create an export plan using the online curriculum, counseling, and introductions to our network of international trade partners will all be kind of part of the planning process. An export plan helps you understand the facts, constraints, and goals around your international efforts, and you can use it to create specific objectives, decide on implementation schedules, and mark milestones of your success. In partnership with LivePlan, an interactive business planning software development company, the Missouri SBDC has created a custom planning tool tailored to meet your export planning needs. Based on the International Trade Administration's Export Business Plan outline, we developed this tool that guides you through the elements of an export plan and allows you to fill in specific facts, figures, and intentions of your company. In doing so, you're also able to illustrate that you are export ready, have thought through all of the considerations, and are ready to take advantage of the trade opportunities we discussed earlier as they develop. The software prompts you to consider all of your export needs with space to include an executive summary, introduction, marketing plans, action steps, an export budget, background data, and partners included in the planning process. Each element of the plan includes a text box for tailored input, instructions, an example, and resources to help develop the specific element of the plan you are working on. And then as your exporting venture develops, so too will your need for international business assistance. By holding relationships with a wide variety of export professionals in the state, like the World Trade Center St. Louis, we're able to connect you to the right professionals that work in nuanced industries of global trade to assist you at every stage. Active development of your export plan will require you to have information about or utilize the services of critical export partners and catalyzes connections that you may not have been aware that you needed for exporting. Finally, our monthly newsletter is just another good way to stay informed and educated about international trade tools available to you, up to date with original content, with articles on exporting and upcoming export promotion events and trainings for you to take advantage of. You can sign up at the link above or just let me or Kelly know that you would like to stay in the loop. And finally, thank you all for your willingness to learn about international trade resources and certainly your patience with my struggles here today with the internet. But I want to thank our partners, and we all look forward to connecting with you to support your international growth. I've included my contact information and Kelly's at the SBDC, and I think we are ready for any questions that you may have.
I have a question, and this one is for Kimberly. Why would we export? Can you explain some of the benefits for us?
Absolutely. I think the number one reason to export is to take advantage of the fact that there are so many other consumers out there. The world is so much bigger than kind of our backyard. And so to grow your business, the opportunity to grow your business with exporting, in my experience, exporting can actually be more profitable than selling locally. You have the ability to take advantage of that profitability and actually grow your business at a faster rate via exporting. When I worked for Victorinox, which is the Swiss Army knife company, and the export business actually became the most profitable part of the business and was able to drive the growth of the domestic market as well. So it's a huge opportunity to grow your business, not just outside the US, but even within the US.
Yeah, and can I add something? I would say, and Leslie mentioned this in her presentation too, that it can smooth out the bumps too. So COVID was an international, like a global thing, right? But most of the time when there's an economic downturn or something like that, it doesn't happen everywhere at the same time. So I know of businesses that during the Great Recession that we had in the US, they were able to hold on more easily because of their international business. So that's another good way, another good reason for exporting,
A great
to
point.
kind of give you more diversification.
I want to add, please, please, please put questions in the chat. If you all have anything you would like to ask, now is your chance. We've got them all right here in one place.
So Adam asks, are there any standards for international documentation / audits when a company does work for clients who with export controlled documents as well as direct exporting? Are there any standards for internal documentation / audits when a company does work for clients with export controlled documents as well as direct exporting?
I know there's an organization in St. Louis that works with trade compliance practitioners. It's a mouthful. The name of it is the St. Louis Trade Compliance Practitioners Roundtable. They talk about a lot of those types of things too. They can assist with sort of best practices for audits, things like that.
So the answer, Adam, is probably yes. But it depends on the business, and it depends on a lot of things. But Susan could connect you to the trade. I can't even say it.
Trade Compliance Practitioners Roundtable. They have been having their meetings virtually. So even if you're in outstate Missouri, you could participate, and it's just $40 a year for an individual membership. So, and you can attend one, without joining first. So,
and then get some good answers.
Yeah.
What are some common obstacles for exporting? Like what problems might someone run into?
I'm not the best one to take that, because Kimberly or Leslie have more experience, I think.
I'll pitch in and say that typically the things that you've got to think about are, when you're exporting products, one of the things you need to know are the harmonized tariff codes for your products. So you need to understand how you're going to ship your products, what the most efficient way to ship it is, how you're going to manage the documentation, and the documentation includes the tariff codes. The tariff codes are what are assigned to every single product in the world, essentially. And that's what determines what the import duties are in the country that you're shipping to. So that would be one element of a kind of a challenge that you would face when you were exporting. The other thing would be making sure that you're compliant with the rules and regulations that are in the country you're shipping to. For example, it used to be that if you were shipping to Canada a product that had any sort of foam or filling in it, that product had to be specially labeled. Also shipping to Canada, there are sometimes requirements that anything on the product be in more than one language. It has to be in French and English. So those are the types of things that as you're going to ship that you would need to consider. And those are things that we can help with. Kelly, were you going to add something? Is there something else that comes to your mind? Okay.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay.
The other thing I would add is just that connecting with freight forwarders is something that is vital. You can get a lot of your worries kind of taken care of when you're working with freight forwarders. That can really kind of, this is the bread and butter of what they do. And so a lot of times, I always want to put the plug in for freight forwarders in early when clients are talking about exporting, just because there are such an invaluable resource as you're moving along, especially if you're new to the process.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you can see the chat, Leslie, but I had just said that same thing because I think they can help with the audit type information as well. One thing I like to make sure people are aware of, though, because it surprised me, the first thing I ever outsourced was my taxes, right? Because one of the benefits of getting a CPA to prepare your taxes is that they take on some of the liability or maybe all the liability. And it's a little different when you're working with a freight forwarder or customs broker. You still legally have liability to make sure that everything is done properly from the federal government standpoint. So don't want to just, abdicate and just give them everything and just, not question what they do. You do want to be educated, make sure you know what they're doing, why they're doing it. But yes, I mean, this is their bread and butter. And if they do it wrong, then their whole business is going to suffer. So they're going to do their best to do it right. But you want to also make sure that you're kind of in there and you're understanding what's happening and why, so that if a question does come up, you can show your work, so to speak, and say, this is why we decided to do it the way we did.
All right, if we don't have any more questions, I think we will go ahead and wrap this up. I really want to thank you all. This has been such a great presentation. Regardless of our technical difficulties, we still have gotten a wealth of information, and I thank you all for that. I want to thank everyone who's on the call today. Stay up to date. newgrowthmo.org is our website. Their information will be posted on our website. That way you have their contact information. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We can get you to them, or if I can help you, I will help you in any way I can. But we have their information. So if you have exporting questions, we have the experts on the line. I want to thank everyone again, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day, and thank you for watching. And thank you, ladies.
Thank you.